What's going on, guys? It's Yugi Bros, and today we have Mako Tsunami versus Joey Wheeler. Rematch of the century here. Today our opponent's on Iron Grit. Now this is a skill I've given a lot of crap to, but I will give credit where credit is due. On paper you read it and it just says Gear Freed the Iron Knights you control aren't affected by card effects, so you're like, oh cool, awesome, where's that go? But if you throw it into a deck that kind of benefits from, you know, your card being unaffected, it can actually be pretty relevant. So you'll see why this card is actually like a lot better than I've been giving it credit for. We are on a different type of scale. For anyone that has watched my channel long enough, you know that I have a special love in my heart for random, terrible, obscure decks, one of which being Fortress Whale, aka Moby Thicc. Moby Thicc got his own skill in the new Streets box, and it's called Whale of a Tale. This skill says discard one card from your hand and add one Fortress Whale or Fortress Whale's Oath from your deck to your hand. Keep in mind this is not once per turn, and we are going to showcase why that's pretty relevant. The other effect is Fortress Whale monsters you control gain the following effect. Your opponent cannot target face-up water monsters you control with spell, trap cards, or effects. It's a pretty good effect, giving Fortress Whale something to play around with, considering by himself he's just 2350 and does nothing. Our opponent is going to go first. They're going to set the house and pass. Now, they have activated Blaze Accelerator, set Wildfire, and set Shrink. The reason you activate Accelerator is most likely you have a Wildfire, which is a quick play that says you can pay 500, destroy all Blaze Accelerator cards you control, and if you do, destroy as many monsters on the field as possible, then special summon a Wildfire token, 1000 in attack position. Your monsters can't attack the turn you activate this, but most of the time you do it on your opponent's turn, and the reason Gear Freed in here being unaffected is so good is because you can stick Gear Freed on the field, activate Wildfire, blow the whole board, and Gear Freed stays. It also makes use of Blast with Chain, being a new card in Streets box, where if you equip it to a monster, Gear Freed will destroy all equipped cards destroyed to him, and then this card effect will activate, or if it was destroyed by a card effect while equipped, you can target any card in the field and destroy it, so it's just a free pop. We are going to go to our main phase 1, activate Whale of a Tale, use its effect sending this Red Eyes Wyvern to the grave to add good old Moby Thicc to our hand. Oh, but it doesn't end there. We're going to do it yet again, pitching Fortress Whale's Oath. I know, odd, right? Why would we pitch the card we need to summon our boy? Well, we're going to add another whale, and then we're going to activate Advanced Ritual Art. The card says, to ritual summon any ritual monster, you must send normal monsters from your deck to the grave whose levels equal the level of the ritual monster. Exactly. Can't go over. So we're going to send Red Eyes Black Dragon, since he is a 7, and Fortress Whale is also a 7. To then let us special summon good old Moby Thicc to the field. Now the reason we do this is because we are playing cards that work around Red Eyes Black Dragon. So with our skill utilizing the ability to not once per turn discard cards from our hand to add either piece to our hand, we are playing cards that benefit by being sent to the grave, essentially, Red Eyes Wyvern being one of them, which we'll get to in a second. We're going to go to battle phase, have Fortress Whale swing in for 2350. They're going to activate the Wildfire, pay 500, send the Blaze Accelerator to the grave to bring out a token, 1000 in attack position. End phase, we're going to go to our grave and activate Red Eyes Wyvern, who says on the turn that you haven't normal summoned or set, because you can't otherwise activate the effect, you can banish this from the grave and target a Red Eyes monster in your grave and special summon that target. So we're going to bring back the Red Eyes Black Dragon. So just like that, we've kind of nullified their Wildfire. Yes, we don't get a monster that has immunity to targeting of spell and traps, but we get a slightly stronger monster in Red Eyes Black Dragon to sit on the field until then. They're going to normal summon Rocket, activate Rocket's effect, adding a Blaze Accelerator from the grave to the hand, setting another card, and going to battle phase, having Rocket swing into our Red Eyes. Anything before damage step, we're going to Offerings to Doom, because we assume they probably have something like Shrink. Usually anytime anyone asks that, it's something of that nature. We would rather our monster live, so that we can kind of apply pressure going into our turn. We cannot draw due to Offerings, but that's fine. We can activate Advanced Ritual Art once again, setting another Red Eyes from our deck to the grave to summon out a Fortress Whale. Now we're going to go to battle phase. We're going to have Fortress attack. Because of the effect that our water monsters are untargetable by spell and trap cards, we figure even if they had something like Shrink, it wouldn't do anything here if our Fortress punches in. We'll punch over the token, and then we'll have Red Eyes try to swing in directly for 2400, but they will activate Shrink, putting the card down to 1200. Let's adjust that correctly. There we go. So they will take 12, and then we will pass back to them. They're going to draw into the one, the only, Gear Freed the Iron Knight. They're going to normal summon him out, activate Blaze Accelerator, and pass. Now what's interesting here is that by doing so, it almost bluffs that this is a Wildfire. So it kind of prevents us, it's actually a cool tactic in this deck. It kind of prevents us from trying to apply extra pressure assuming they can just blow the board, you know? So we're going to activate Whale of a Tail here, sending a Red Eyes Wyvern just in case it is a wildfire so that we can bring back this Red Eyes at the end phase. Granted, I guess we could have normal summoned it to achieve the same process, but it doesn't thin the deck and it doesn't give us another copy of good old Moby Thicc. We're going to then go to Battle Phase and try to swing over. We're going to have Fortress Whale swing over Gearfried here because, again, if they have like something like Shrink or something, they can't do it to the Fortress Whale. They're going to activate the Blast with Chain, which would put their monster to 23. Of course, Blast with Chain is automatically destroyed due to Gearfried's effect, and then because Blast was destroyed, its effect will target a card in the field and destroy it. Keep in mind they can't target this due to Whale of a Tail's effect, so they're forced to hit their Red Eyes, which means this attack is going to go through. They're going to draw into DD Warrior Lady. They're going to set that and pass. We're going to draw into Carbonetton, another interesting card here in a second. We'll discard it to add Fortress Whale's Oath from deck to hand. Then we will activate Carbonetton's effect, which says you can banish it from the graveyard to special summon a level 7 or lower dragon normal monster in face-up defense position. Another reason we like to play dragon normal monsters for our deck's advanced ritual art strategy. We're going to summon out Red Eyes Black Dragon here. We're going to activate Fortress Whale's Oath, send that to the grave, summon a Fortress Whale, go to battle phase. Oh, it's DD Warrior Lady. Well, that's unfortunate. Anyways, we're going to use the other Fortress Whale to a swing for game. So as you guys can see here, the deck is pretty interestingly resilient for what it does, considering it is kind of an all-in, let's drop Moby Thicc as fast as possible, because you have recovery in Red Eyes Wyvern and consistency in Carbonetton, both of which want to be in the graveyard anyway, so they're just free discards for our skill. We're going to go to our main phase 1, pitching the Carbonetton for a piece. Then we're going to banish the Carbonetton to summon a Red Eyes Black Dragon. We're going to then Fortress Whale's Oath, tributing that for the whale before passing back to our opponent. I don't love doing anything with this deck in turn 1, just because like you can kind of play into your opponent's strategies, going second with this and setting up accordingly. And then this whale is kind of just out there for them to destroy. But alternatively, I do think it's smarter to end on something rather than nothing, because while that deck probably can't OT Chaos, I'd rather not have them punch in for at least like an 1800 with a Gearfried and do something. If they have something, let's try to have them proactively out it and waste resources. So they're going to normal Rocket, add Accelerator, set Shrink, set Wildfire. The only downside to telegraphing the Wildfire is the fact that they have to activate this Blaze Accelerator, because they have to destroy all Blaze Accelerators they control by paying 500 to then destroy the monsters on the field as possible. Keep in mind, the only cost to this effect is pay 500. So if they pay 500 for cost and you out the Blaze Accelerator on the field before this card fully resolves, it will not resolve because there will be no Blaze Accelerators for them to destroy. We're going to draw into a Red Eyes Wyvern. We're going to activate our skill, pitch the Wyvern, add a Fortress Whale from deck to hand. Then we will go straight to battle phase, because I don't want to commit anything else in case they do have a Wildfire. And in fact they do, and we have the Wyvern in the grave if we need to bring back something in the end phase, so they're going to pay 500, blow the board, summon the Wildfire token, and then end phase we're going to activate our Wyvern, like I said, banish it, bring back Red Eyes Black Dragon. They're going to draw into Shrink. They're going to normal summon Gearfried the Iron Knight, have Gearfried swing into Red Eyes, and damage step they're going to activate the Shrink, putting the Red Eyes down to 1200, so we'll take 6 off of that, and then the Wildfire token is going to get in for a clean 1000 before they pass back to us. We're going to draw into Red Eyes Spirit, another Red Eyes card we are playing to mitigate our Red Eyes strategy. We're going to activate Fortress Whale's Oath, send Red Eyes for Fortress Whale before setting this Spirit, going to battle phase and punching the Gearfried. Like I said, it's probably just smarter to get that off the field since Fortress Whale can't be targeted by spell and trap effects. They're going to go into draw. They're going to draw into Rhoda. They're going to normal this Exiled Force, which unfortunately our monster is not immune to. It is not a spell trap effect. It is a monster effect, so that will out our monster. They will have Wildfire token try to swing in, but we will Red Eyes Spirit back the Red Eyes so they can't do any damage. Well, draw into Advanced Ritual Art. Well, that does nothing in our hand by itself, so we're just going to go straight to battle phase, have the Red Eyes swing over the token for 1400 before passing back. They're going to draw into Volcanic Rocket, activate Reinforcements of the Army, adding a DD Warrior Lady from deck to hand, before then normal summoning it, going to battle phase, having it swing into the Red Eyes. We don't have anything, and in damage that they're actually going to flip Shrink here, I thought they were going to banish it so that we can't keep recurring it with Spirit, but then they'd be on nothing, and this is a much better play on their part, so we're going to take 300 off of that, and now we have to contest this Warrior Lady before we continue our onslaught. We're going to draw into Red Eye's Wyvern, activate our skill, pitching the Wyvern, adding Fortress Whale, good old Moby Thicc to our hand. Then we're going to activate the Advanced Ritual Art, sending Red Eye's Black Dragon to drop the Fortress Whale to the field, and then we're going to go to battle phase, swing over the DD Warrior Lady for 850. They're going to banish it, but that's fine. In end phase, we're going to activate Wyvern, bringing back Red Eye's Black Dragon, and it's such a resilient way to continue to deal with their stuff. They're going to draw into Gearfried, which doesn't do anything for them, so they will set that and pass. We're going to draw into Galaxy Cyclone. We are playing this because instead of something like Night Beam to out stuff, we can pitch this with our skill to search something and then use its graveyard effect on a different turn, because it doesn't work the same turn it was sent to the grave, to destroy a face-up spell or trap on the field. So we figure this is much better use of a spell and trap destruction card in this deck, just to utilize our skill and the grave effect. They're going to draw into Book of Moon, normal summon a Rocket, activate Rocket's effect, adding the accelerator from grave to hand, before they will activate that, set Book of Moon, and essentially bluff us into a Wildfire. We're going to draw into Foolish Burial. We're going to activate the Galaxy Cyclone here. Actually works out in our favor. In case it was a Wildfire, we figured we'd out that now, but it was Book of Moon. So they're going to flip our monster face down. We're going to then activate Foolish Burial, dumping a Wyvern to the grave. Keep in mind this also works to dump Carbonet on as well. We're going to then reflip the Red Eyes, since we haven't flipped it this turn. Go to battle, swing into the Rocket for 500, and now they can't use Wildfire anymore because they'd have to pay 500. Now we feel there's no reason to hold on summoning extra monsters, so we will banish the Wyvern in grave on end phase to bring back another Red Eyes Black Dragon. They draw into Hammer Shot, which will out a Red Eyes Black Dragon, but sadly not out the second one, so we'll just go to battle phase and win the game. So the people have spoken, and everyone's been asking to see both deck lists from the Duel videos if I can retrieve them both for our deck reviews. So we're going to start out with Iron Grit first. They were on 3 copies of Gearfried the Iron Knight, as you normally are. 3 copies of Volcanic Rocket, which gets the Blaze Accelerator and sets up the Wildfire. 2 copies of DD Warrior Lady, as this card is a very good out to things. 2 Sphere Karibo. 1 Battle Survivor. We didn't see this in the replay, but this card is pretty good. At the end of the battle phase, you can add 1 card from your grave to your hand except Battle Survivor that was sent there during this battle phase while you controlled this face-up card. So you can, it's a neat little card that can add like things back during the battle phase. You can get any card, so you can get spell traps and monsters back depending on what was sent there at the end of the battle phase. It's a neat card. We just never saw it. 1 Blaze Accelerator, because you can add this from deck or grave with Rocket, so you don't need more than 1. 2 Reinforcements of the Army. We are playing under the new list. 1 Hammer Shot in the main deck, and they side the second one. 2 Shrink. Card will probably see a lot more play now with double Jinzo in the format. Maybe not. Well, I guess we'll see. The double Wildfire, as we've seen. 1 Book of Moon, since the other 2 of their 3 ofs are the DD Warrior Lady, and 3 Blast with Chain. Card is just really, really strong right now. In the side deck, they had the 1 Exiled Force, as we did see. 1 Banisher of the Radiance. This card's just actually like really neat in general. The second Hammer Shot, as I said, double Night Beam and 1 Mind Crush. But let's get to the deck list everyone wants to see. Yes, it's 30 cards. Bite me. We are playing triple Fortress Whale, triple Fortress Whale's Oath, because that is the skill in a nutshell. Triple Red Eyes Black Dragon. I almost wish I could play more copies of this, because this ends up getting baited through the deck so quickly through Foolish, Advanced Ritual Art, and Carbonet-on's effect that we end up always needing like a 4th one, but I digress. Triple Carbonet-on. Again, you kind of just want to see this stuff as soon as possible because it fuels your skill. Carbonet-on, like I said, banish it out of the grave, summon a Red Eyes in defense from the deck, and then it kind of just sets you up from there. Triple Red Eyes Wyvern, same deal as Carbonet-on. Seeing this early is never a bad thing because you're usually always dropping a Red Eyes to summon your Fortress Well. So this card is always live, and it's funny because I would argue this card was never great in like any other Red Eyes variant or stuff, because you would always be normal summoning or setting the turn you use it. But in this case, you're never doing that with this deck, or you're barely doing that with this deck, in which the Wyvern is always live, which is really cool. Triple Advanced Ritual Art. This card's just really, really strong in this deck to send this to set this up, but then this is live with this and this, so it's just more copies of Foolish Burial, which is nuts. Triple Fortress Whale's Oath, like I said, double Foolish Burial. Now, you could argue probably not play too Foolish in here exactly, but I feel like, again, we kind of just want to see this stuff as early as possible, so setting up a Carbonet or a Wyvern going into their turn is very, very strong. And worst case scenario, if you need to set this up in the grave just for this, then you can do so. But you can also dump this for this, because this can target any Red Eyes monster in the grave. Keep that in mind, it doesn't have to be Red Eyes Black Dragon. Triple Book of Moon, just because this is the best end-all be-all option in the game. Double Shrink, like I said, we're probably going to see more of this going forward. Not even just because of Jinzo, but this card is just really, really strong in general. One Order to Charge. Now, I know we never saw this in the replays. We did see it being drawn in the last game, in the last turn. It says target a non-token normal monster you control, tribute that normal monster, and if you do, destroy one monster your opponent controls. So the destruction is non-targeting, and obviously you're popping Red Eyes who can keep coming back. The reason we don't play more of the copies of it is we were originally on more copies of it, but the deck's backbone is having both a Red Eyes and a Fortress Whale to apply the pressure, and then if you keep outing one of your two big monsters, you're not really doing your deck a whole lot of justice. But this card is very good as a one-of, I feel, going into the deck. One Offerings to the Doomed, just good spot removal, and then triple Red Eye Spirit, as I've said. In the side deck, it's double Galaxy Cyclone for the reasons we've already mentioned. Double Fairy Meteor Crush. You're seeing more of this card in the format right now because My Precious Queen decks are just everywhere, and dropping their tokens at 0/0 or 100/100, I should say, every end phase means that you can, going into your turn, set up Beat Sticks, put a Fairy Meteor Crush on them, and just punch over the token for a massive amount of damage. I don't know if this is the best way to utilize this. We could also play Flash of the Forbidden Spell. People were also on that as a way to out their field, but they don't always put 3 monsters on the field now that this is seeing play. So I just feel like Fairy Meteor Crush does it for you better. And then double Widespread Ruin, just a little extra spot removal in the side deck just in case if you're losing to something conveniently. Understandably so, because everything in this deck only gets as strong as 2400. You could also, on a different note, play something like Hammer Shot as just another out to big monsters. But guys, that is the Fortress Whale deck in a nutshell. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. I feel like this is the best. This has always been one of the best ways to utilize this, where you play Red Eyes with it, but now because of the skill, letting us discard stuff like Carbonetton and Wyvern to get our pieces, especially not being once per turn, which is wild, then allowing the Red Eyes to actually kind of flow through the deck more than just kind of being here randomly because of Advanced Ritual Art, really makes the deck much more resilient. But because it's a ritual deck, like I said, there are other things you could play. You could do pre-preparation of rites, you could do Senju and Sonic Bird if you wanted. There's a whole lot of ways to play rituals in Speed Duels. So let me know what you think down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.
For more amazing Speed Duel content, subscribe to Yugi Bros. It's time to duel!